everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Innovation Coffee brought to you by ARM. My name is Robert Wolf, your host. Once again this week and every week, every Thursday, 5 p.m. UTC, we go live here interviewing amazing people in the ARM tech world, talking about the cool stuff that they're developing in and around ARM technology. And today we're joined by Todd Sharp, who is a developer advocate for cloud and cloud database at Oracle. Now, as we usually do in these episodes, I like to talk a little bit about what we did last week. We have some news and announcements, of course, and then we'll bring our guest in to talk about the main topic at hand. So last week, we met with Matthew Alt, also known as WrongBod on Twitter. And it was a really cool episode because we got to talk about reverse engineering. Now, I don't know if any of you are joining us from last week. There's the link to the episode. Don't just cruise over there yet. Wait until after this one. Go check it out if you have an extra hour in your day. It was a really fun one. We talked about reverse engineering, basic hardware, all the way to full-blown arcades. And it was a lot of fun. Now, definitely go check that one out. I'm not gonna spoil the surprise. Take the time, go watch it, and enjoy it for yourself. Now, meeting today with Oracle, with Todd Sharp from Oracle, we have some fun stuff planned as well. He has a great presentation. We're going to be talking about Node-RED. Now, in a non-traditional sense, as far as I understand here, and he's going to explain everything to do with Node-RED, as well as show us a demo. He has a cool presentation to share with us. And then we're going to talk about Dev Summit and the sessions that folks from Oracle have going on during Dev Summit, which, by the way, is next week. And I think this is the cue for our news announcements. This just in. Next week we have ARM Dev Summit. And if you've been following at all these weekly shows, I've been talking about ARM Dev Summit pretty religiously here. Because it is our annual event here at ARM. And this year, it will be a virtual event just like last year, but we've learned a lot. And so next week, we have so many cool things going on, from keynotes, fireside chats, panels, tech sessions, workshops. There's pretty much something for everyone. And I thoroughly recommend checking out the devsummit.arm.com website right here. Cruise on over to that website. And if you haven't already registered, register. And once you register, you can start building out your agenda. So there's lots of cool things to set up. Make sure that you get your agenda in order beforehand, because this is the best way to experience as much as possible for the Dev Summit event. On top of that, I want to also say, considering this is a news announcement, next week, there will be no Innovation Coffee. But as a surprise, there is going to be a really cool live stream that we are going to be doing live from Dev Summit. So we have this 3-day period where we're going to be offering what we're calling ARM TV. There's going to be a 5-hour live stream every single day of the event that's going to run in parallel with ARM Dev Summit. So while you're waiting for your next session to pop up, while you're waiting for your next workshop, or getting excited for the next keynote that you want to watch, tune into the ARM TV channel. You'll find myself as well as 2 other co-hosts that will be hosting this live stream event alongside ARM Dev Summit. I'm very excited. Flying up to San Francisco to go make sure that we have everything in order in the studio. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're also going to be announcing the winners for the ARM Dev Summit competition. And there will be a bunch of other really cool stuff for you all to participate in. So don't miss ARM Dev Summit and ARM TV. Now, let me just check my notes to make sure I didn't miss any of these news announcements. Okay, cool. Yeah, get your pass, go register. Now, I want to bring Todd into the stream. I think we've covered all the news. Let's bring Todd in. Hello, Todd. Welcome to Innovation Coffee. Got your
What's going on, Robert? Thanks for having me. Nice to see you. Got my coffee here. All right, cool.
This is people get to see my softer side. I'm a cat person.
Hey, you want to see cat? We're gonna get into cats already. All right, let's get cats. Let's do cats. The cat pillow.
Oh no, I need to get.
You gotta have the cat pillow.
Did you get that cat pillow modeled after a cat that you actually own?
No, I don't know where I got it. I think my wife found it at like a thrift store or something.
That's pretty cool.
Or my daughter, or my son. I don't know where it came from. It just showed up in my office one day. You know how that goes.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. So Todd, as we usually do here at the beginning of every show, when we bring our guests and we want to hear a little bit about them. So maybe you could share your origin story. Who are you? What do you do? What are you going to talk to us about today?
Yeah, absolutely. I am a supervillain. No, anytime we say origin story, I think of comic books and all that. No, yeah, Todd Sharp. I am a developer advocate. I live in Blairsville, Georgia, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere, about 2 hours north of Atlanta, and originally from Cleveland, Ohio. As you can see, the Cleveland Browns on my coffee cup there. So originally from Ohio, but moved down here about 7 years ago, and just really passionate about technology. I've been a developer for 17 years now, going back quite a ways, and I've always kind of had that passion for technology. So it's, as soon as I got into developing, I just felt ridiculously lucky that I was allowed to play around with fun things that I love to do, and somebody actually paid me to do these things, right? So, but moved it down here 7 years ago, built a barn, got a pig, got 7 chickens, actually up to 11 now, I think. And just always that kind of person who's intersecting technology with my personal life. So, of course, I had to get a Raspberry Pi and install it in my barn and do some automation, turning lights on and off on schedules and this kind of stuff. So just a natural born tinkerer, someone who's always playing around with things, always has a project going on, and really just love this job of developer advocacy. It's a job where I get to play around with technology, do fun little demos. I have a background in journalism, and one of my hobbies when I was younger was theater. So I get to be on stage, I get to write, I get to play with technology. It's the best possible job in the entire world for me, and I just love to do it, and feel lucky that I get to get paid to do it. So.
It's funny because my role similar, ecosystem developer evangelist, right? I think developer evangelist, developer advocate, somewhat interchangeable there. And my wife and friends and stuff, they try to understand, like, what is it that you do? And I'm just like, I get paid to have fun with developers around the world and build things and just talk about tech, which I would kind of be doing if I wasn't even getting paid. And so I can definitely resonate with what you got going on there too. Sounds like fun. And I see you have a 3D printer behind you. Mine's hidden by all these boxes, but I have my Pizza Mark III. Yeah, it's right behind there.
Nice. So yeah, I have the Ender 3, and I'm really excited about it because I've had it for almost a year, but this week I finally got it. Like, the battle with 3D printers, right? You have to calibrate and dial it. I've got it 100% perfect as of like a couple days ago, and I just printed like this brand new, it's like couldn't be any prettier of a print. And so, yeah, I'm always playing with that thing, and I get to, make demos and put little cases it's just, it's living the dream, I like to say,
I think you jumped the gun on us here because we definitely want to know what's in Todd's innovation coffee cribs. These little segments always crack me up. I just love that they made them. But yeah, so Todd,
yeah, it's totally cool.
What do you got going on? So you showed us that case. You can show it again, but what else you got going on your desk?
So my desk is this is the pretty side, right? What you're seeing here, like this fancy, but like the mess is all over here. It's like concentrated on the other side of the camera, right? Not too messy, but yeah, I have got my entire, so this is a bedroom in my house, but so there's a big closet here, and there's a giant metal rack with like drawers, like it's just completely full of crap. But let's focus on what's on the desk. And one of the things I've been playing with lately is, I don't know if you've ever seen these little sawn-off boards. So a lot of people have probably heard of sawn-off. What they are little relays that you can use for home automation. So you can like take a lamp, for example, and wire it in line with this sawn-off relay box, and you can control it, from Google Home or Alexa or any kind of home automation. So they have these little 5-volt boards, which I've been playing with because number one, they're super tiny. I mean, look how small that is. It's like 35 millimeters by like 25. And number two, you can use them to control like 5 volt. Well, you can feed them with 5 volt, which is really nice. You can use like a USB power supply or a battery or something like that. But you can also use them to control 5 volts. So like I have like some LED strings that I'm going to be making some. We're almost coming up to Christmas time, so like things, little Christmas projects that you want to control via your smartphone or Alexa or any of those kind of things. So that's one of the things that's on my desk that I've been playing with. Another thing that's really cool, it just came in the mail, is, and believe me, Robert, we could spend the entire hour on what's on my desk and what's in my closet. These little guys, so it's hard to focus here, but so these are just came out recently. They are M5 stamps. So if you've heard of, I don't know if you've ever heard of M5, but they're these little kind of Arduino-y boards. In fact, I have another one right here. Let me find it on my desk. Of course, they're never where you want them to be when you want them, are they? Yeah, can't find it. So,
it's all right.
Essentially, M5s are they're little Arduino-y boards, and they have like built-in LEDs or LCDs and things like this. But the M5, it's a Pico-based Arduino kind of board, and it's literally the size of a stamp. So it has full ESP32 support, so full Wi-Fi support. So in the size of this little stamp board, you can get basically program it with Arduino and use it to connect up to Wi-Fi. My personal application for that is to actually read my brain.
Oh, wow.
So this is a little toy that came out a while back, and it supposedly like lets you control balls with like your brain power. It like actually it does like an EKG or some kind of crap. I don't know how it works, but my goal is to eventually load my brain to the cloud by putting one of these little guys inside of it and hooking it up to the cloud.
How do you port into those? I mean, is there like a daughter card or something that you tap into it? My camera's going wonky here. Like do you put it onto another
the
card?
MindFlex thing?
No, those little M5s.
Oh, so you use like an FTDI programmer that's like a little USB, and then you wire it up to the serial ports, transmit and receive, and that way you can upload directly to it. So it's just power ground and transmit receive, and little FTDI board helps you program it.
Very nice, very nice, cool. Anything else before we move on to the main segment? You got one other cool thing there?
Yeah, here. So this is, I've been doing a lot of talks about this little project, and it's a little bit of a mess, but essentially it's another ESP type Wi-Fi board inside of this case. And that's what I actually printed the new case for, so I could a little bigger and need a little more room to tuck some of these wires away. But this is a project that I did this year, and I've been doing some talks at various conferences about it. And essentially what it was a little way to automate and monitor growing chili peppers. So like I make hot sauce every year. So this year I decided to grow my peppers from seed. And so I got like a heat mat and connected up this little monitoring, so I could monitor the soil temperature, the humidity, the water moisture, the light level, all of those kind of things, and control it, turn the heat mat on and off to kind of control the soil temperature. So that's what this little guy was. And obviously I published all that data up to the cloud, and yeah, we'll do a whole episode with what's on Todd's desk. Hey, yeah, I mean, if you're interested, if anybody's interested, I could talk for hours. So
we'll bring you in for our Christmas episode where we, put together our shopping list, our Santa's shopping list. No,
nice.
that's really cool, Todd. I'm a huge fan of hot sauce, chilies, salsas, anything. So I'll give you my address. I'm gonna ship some over this.
Yes. Let me know.
I used to grow Thai chilies, like those little ones. Those are like my favorites. I just would pluck those right off the little bush and then just eat those with my sandwiches, eat those with my soups, anything. So
yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. I grew some Thais, some cayenne, some habanero. I tried to grow ghost, but they did not come in. It was the strangest thing. Like the plants look fine, but they're just not they're not getting any peppers. So
Yeah,
who knows?
strange how that happens. Yeah, who knows? But okay, cool. Todd, thank you for sharing. That was this week's edition of Innovation Coffee Crib. So thank you. I think that we've nailed the icebreaker rounds now. So it's time to talk about Oracle, right? So you are a developer advocate for Oracle. Let's start off from the high level here. What is Oracle? Who is Oracle? What does Oracle do?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I don't think a lot of younger developers know too much about Oracle. And Oracle actually is, if the numbers still hold, last time I checked, Oracle was the second largest software company in the world. It's been around for more than 40 years, started in the 70s by Larry Ellison. And essentially, it started off as basically one of the world's first relational databases. And still to this day, the database is one of our biggest products in the company. So, but since that time, we've expanded, we've grown, there's just tons of products we could talk about all day long, from some PaaS products, some SaaS products. But essentially in the last few years, and what I focus on is, in the last few years, they've launched what's called Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is our cloud offering, our public cloud offering. And we have just tons of amazing services, from infrastructure to hosted Kubernetes, Docker containers, anything you could think of, streaming, email, anything you could think of cloud-wise is in Oracle Cloud. My job is, as a developer advocate, is kind of a two-way job. I think of it as like an inbound and an outbound advocate. So I advocate for developers internally. So in other words, if our engineering groups or our product managers or our project managers are working on a service or a product, I work with them and use like I'll get on a beta program for an internal product or a new product before it comes out to the public. And I'll test it, I'll use it, and I'll see, okay, developers, this is how they'd want to use it, or this is how they would not want to use it, or this is too complicated, or this documentation is not good enough. So I kind of represent that voice of the developers internally. And at the same time, I do a lot of external advocating for Oracle and their products and services, speaking at conferences, blog posts, content, stuff like this, where I'm essentially telling people, evangelizing, kind of, so to speak, kind of like what you do, about our products and services. So, inbound, outbound, kind of both ways.
Yeah, it's pretty much how I like to explain it as well. Kind of like that bridge between the company and the community, right? Of developers. So
why is my camera deciding to not focus on me here? There we
go. It likes your 3D printer.
I guess. Yeah. Let me turn on the manual focus there.
All
now
right.
that it's focused on me. Cool.
So I think that was great. Great explanation. That's Oracle. That's what a developer advocate does for Oracle. That's awesome. So let's go. We can dive right in now to the topic at hand here, which is Node-RED in the cloud, right? But before we do that, and I think you have this presentation, right? Like, let's see what we can cover in that presentation, and maybe I have some questions. And then while we're at it here, I want to remind everyone who's watching, if you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat. We'll bring them right to Todd. If you have them for me, I'll answer them as well. So don't be afraid to post in that chat as well. If you're watching this on demand later on, leave a comment. We'll answer that comment, and we'll try to maybe get Todd to come in and help us get that answer too. So Todd, take it away. You going to share your screen? You want to talk about Node-RED first? How you want to go?
Yeah, let me share real quick here, and then we will get into it.
All right.
Actually, you know what? Let me share my whole screen again. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I forgot I was going to share my whole screen. So I will share my whole screen, and then I will move this over to here. So how's that? Can you see that pretty good?
Looks great.
Excellent. So yeah, thanks, Robert. This is a talk about installing Node-RED on an always free ARM instance in the Oracle Cloud. So I like to kind of start with a promise. And for this slide, for this presentation, My promise to you is this. In this session, you will learn how to install, launch, secure, and integrate Node-RED on an always free instance in the cloud. As I said, I'm not a marketing person. I'm not a salesperson. I don't respond well to marketing pitches. And so this will not be a marketing pitch. This will not be a sales pitch. But I will tell you some benefits of what's cool about Node-RED. Node-RED is not an Oracle product, by the way. It's an open source product that originally started, I believe, Nick was at IBM when he created it, and now he's kind of gone off on his own to work full time on the Node-RED stuff. But so it's not a sales pitch. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just here to tell you about something cool that I like to play with, that I find neat. And maybe you'll find it neat too, and maybe you'll want to check it out. So what is Node-RED? This is kind of the marketing speak language from the Node-RED website. It's a programming tool for wiring together devices, APIs. Actually, I find that first paragraph, or that first sentence, it does a good job of explaining it. So it's basically this low-code tool that you could use to drag and drop these little nodes, what they call nodes, onto a little screen, palette, what they call, and allows you to wire these things together. So you can basically have your devices talk to Node-RED, your hardware devices, like, for example, this little Sonoff board that I showed you earlier, or a Raspberry Pi, or an Arduino. You can publish data and have it be consumed by Node-RED. You can consume data from APIs. Maybe there's a third-party API, a weather service, or I've used it to interact with the what's called Dexcom API, which is a continuous glucose monitor. My daughter's a type 1 diabetic. So I've used Node-RED to consume the Dexcom API and feed that data to a Arduino device on my desk so that I can see her blood sugar levels at all time. So all kinds of cool things you could build and play with Node-RED. As they say, in new and interesting ways. The cool thing about it is very low code. It's not no code, but you can drag and drop these nodes and then write a little bit of JavaScript to enhance it. But it's not completely no code. But it's a really nice way to build these little kind of flows, what they call flows, and have them, and then deploy them to the server and just let them run forever. Todd, and if you have any questions at any time, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. I actually have a small question here. Basically, I'm thinking about, I've done a lot of hackathons with students and stuff. And in a lot of ways, what these students try to do is they're given a Raspberry Pi and or an Arduino. And so, Arduino is really good at sensing, actuation, stuff like that. Raspberry Pi, possibly good for the compute side of things. This Node-RED can be used to connect these two devices while saying, okay, well, the Arduino is going to be in charge of all this actuation, possibly some sensing. But then when we have some computational data, we'll send it over to the Raspberry Pi or up to the cloud, connecting these devices all together, making sure that they're communicating efficiently.
Absolutely.
Is this a use case?
Perfect use case for them. Certainly, you could talk directly between the Raspberry Pi and Arduino, like over serial. Yeah. That gets a little messy, and it's obviously dependent on a physical link between the two. What if they're not physically linked? What if you wanted the Arduino in one room or one house, and you wanted the Raspberry Pi in another one? So, absolutely, it's something a use case. A lot of people. I should kind of preface the rest of my talk by saying a lot of people do run Node-RED on a Raspberry Pi. So like if you have a spare one and you want to throw it down in your closet where your router is and, run Node-RED in your local network, you could do that too. And I think a lot of people do run it locally. I think it's less of a use case to run it in the cloud, but I think there are some benefits, and I'll talk about those as we go along. So, but no, tons of use cases, especially when it comes to hardware. I find what I do a lot, and we'll show you this in a little bit, but what I do a lot is end up using like a MQTT server to handle messaging between a lot of hardware and Node-RED. So a lot of cool stuff. We'll get into all of that.
Perfect. Let's bring that slideshow back up. All right.
Cool. So this is an example of what Node-RED looks like, just to kind of get you familiar with it. What you have here on the left-hand side are your nodes, and they're grouped by functionality and things like that. So you can drag those to the palette area, which is the grid type, the grid lines in the middle. And then on the right-hand side, you have your debug console. You have other panels to get more information about certain nodes. You can double click on a node to bring up little dialogues to edit those nodes, things like that. We'll get into that a little more, but I wanted to get you familiar with kind of the look and feel of Node-RED and what it's like. The other really cool thing, you can build your own nodes. So if there's a certain piece of functionality that you wanted to work with that doesn't exist out there in the world, you could write your own. If there's a third-party API that you wanted to consume or a service that you wanted to send data to, absolutely no problem to write your own nodes and even publish them on the Node-RED kind of store, if you will. So let's talk about the best always free tier in the cloud. So a lot of cloud vendors have free-ish services. Some of them have legit free services. A lot of them are time-bound. A lot of them are kind of very bare bones type offerings. But I truly believe, and again, I'm not a salesperson, I'm not a marketer, as a developer, and that's the lens and the perspective that I always view these things through and speak to them through. As a developer, I tell you, absolutely, this is the best always free tier in the cloud. And it hasn't always been this way. I joined Oracle more than 3 years ago. Our free tier was non-existent at that time. I absolutely am not responsible for it being what it is, but the first thing I said from day one was we need a free tier. We need something where developers can get their hands on and play with. And they came through, and it's, like I said, the best free tier in the business. I'm in the database organization, so the first thing I talk about are our database offerings in the always free tier. We have what's called autonomous transaction processing, autonomous data warehouse, and autonomous JSON database, which are all three fancy words for the first one being a transaction type database, which is your typical relational type database. The second one is a data warehouse. And the third one is just like a JSON key value store. Those are all options that you could use in the always free tier. You get 2 databases, you get 1 CPU on each, and 10 gigs of storage with each. So 2 complete 100% managed cloud databases, absolutely free. You can also do NoSQL if that's your thing. Not something that I mess with too much, but if that's your thing, feel free to check it out.
Did you talk about the memory? Did you talk about the memory available there?
So the memory available. What is the memory available? That's a fantastic question.
I've noticed that some instances, we're talking about like other possible free tiers out there, right? And I've noticed that some of the free tiers, like that's where they limit you, is on that memory amount. If you get like 1 gigabyte and you're like, oh, I'm trying to build this, and that's really it's a bottleneck, right? Still, free is free, and it's still amazing. If I have to wait an extra 30 minutes for something to build, okay. But
right, yeah. I believe it's a gig, and we're talking about the database here. I believe it's a gig, but essentially, if you think about what you're doing with an always free database, what are you going to be doing, right? I mean, you're probably going to be building like you're not going to be building production workloads here. We're talking about side projects. We're talking about storing data for a blog or a church website or a golf league website. You're not going to do production tier grade stuff in an always free instance. And that, I think everybody kind of understands that. My blog, recursive.codes, is run completely in the always free tier. It's responsive. It does what it needs to do, right? I'm not getting tons of traffic. I'm not like Robert, where I'm internationally known and I have just like thousands of hits every day. He's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true. So, for what it is, it's a great deal. What else can you get? 2 AMD VMs with 1/8 of a CPU and 1 gig of RAM each. Now that sounds very little. And again, it's for blogs, it's for forums, it's for things like that. But in addition to those two AMD VMs, you get, and this is the really cool thing, and this is what we announced recently, you get 4 ARM cores and 24 gigs of RAM. And I can't possibly imagine anyone else even coming close to giving that away for free to developers at any company else in the world. 4 cores, 24 gigs of RAM. You could divide those up into 4 VMs, so 1 core, 6 gigs, or you could use it as one giant single VM with 4 cores and 24 gigs RAM. Not, of course, not super giant, but this is something you might be able to do something with, right? I've run Minecraft servers. Where do I sign up? The link at the bottom of the page is, of course, where you could go to sign up and learn more. But no, I've run a Minecraft server with this ARM, always free ARM instance, and it runs amazingly, no lag. My son, he signed up and got his own, and he turned it up and ran it. So you can do things like, again, run a game server, Counter-Strike server, whatever you want to play with. You could do that in the always free tier for absolutely free. Block storage, object storage, archive storage, load balancer, all the kind of things, the basic type things that you would imagine, bandwidth, all available in the always free tier and more. We have managed Terraform with a service called Resource Manager. You get outbound data, you get a load balancer, and more. So this is just kind of the highlights. So I encourage you to check out that link. If you do want to create an account, you can go to cloud.oracle.com/free. You do have to enter a credit card number and a mobile phone number and verify that mobile phone number. I'm sorry, I think it kind of stinks, but at the same time, we do have to verify that if you do go and create non-free instances, we have to have a way to bill you for that usage. So
I think that's pretty standard across the board,
Yeah, I think so. And again, we do a really good job of telling you this isn't always free. I'll show you in a minute. We do a really good job of showing you on the screens you're at, this is a free instance or it's not a free instance. So you can really easily see whether or not you're paying for something. So let's do that. Let's launch an always free instance in the Oracle Cloud and kind of see what it takes, how it works, and where to go from there. So let me open a new browser window and bring that. Can we see that still? Yeah, cool.
This is an actual demo, right? Like you're actually going to do this live right now. You're going to set everything.
Yeah,
up.
I'm going to do this live. Cool. I'm not scared. I am going to risk looking completely silly here and everything blowing up in. Yeah, we should be good. So let me log in here. And what I'm doing is just logging into the Oracle Cloud Console. And as soon as I do that, you will see the console homepage. So there's all kinds of quick starts and resources. There's 2 kind of main things if you're new to it, 2 ways to navigate essentially. You have this kind of mega menu over here that has all kinds of top level categories, and you can choose, for example, compute. And so if you want to look at your compute instances, you could do that, for example. What I end up always doing is I go to this little search bar, and I actually have a keyboard shortcut that puts focus directly into it, so I can just quickly search for something. So if I want to search for a resource by name, like if I had a named instance, I could do that. Or if I wanted to search for the service itself, I could do that as well. So we go to instances, and this is my paid account, so it's not my always free personal account, but it'll still allow me to launch an always free instance. So here's all of my instances in this particular tenancy. And to create one, we just click on Create Instance. And as soon as we do that, we get to this kind of Create Instance Details page. The only thing we need to do here is give this instance a name and scroll down here a little bit. So availability domain, you can choose a specific availability domain. It's not going to really make much difference to you. Essentially, within a region, an AD is like a data center. So they're physically separate structures that allow you to kind of protect your instances and get some separation amongst your different instances. But that really doesn't much matter to you right now. What we're really concerned with is getting a ARM shape instance launched. So if we click on change shape, we can see here Ampere, where this ARM-based processor is. If we select that, and as I said, you see this always free eligible, and you're always going to see that always free eligible on our always free eligible resources. So it's not going to be anything kind of hidden. You don't have to really dig for it. If you see that, you can be kind of confident that it's going to be always free. So if we select that shape, we can scroll down here, and this is where we can select our cores and our memory. So if we wanted that big beefy 4-core 24 gig machine, we can select 4 cores and 24 gigs. But in this case, for Node-RED, we don't need nothing crazy. We could just go with 1 core and 6 gigs of RAM. Again, if you click this, how do I know if I'm eligible? You'll see some documentation that shows you just what is included in your tenancy for free. And as it says here, all tenancies get 3,000 CPU hours and 18 gigabyte hours per month for free. So if you do the math, there's no way you can exceed that with 4 cores and 24 gigs of RAM. There's just no way. There's not enough hours in the month to exceed that. And this is all tenancies. So this is even a paid tenancy gets this included.
You know, I gotta bring this up, Todd, real quick. I mean, yeah. and I hope it's okay. Feel free to not answer this or talk to me later about it. But I've noticed that some cloud providers have had issues when offering so much for free with regards to this cryptocurrency movement. When it comes to mining and people actually consuming, that's a lot of hours. That's a lot of CPU power. That's a lot of that you're offering there. Someone could come in and just like say, I'm gonna mine Bitcoin for free.
Yeah, I do believe that there are kind of, I believe that's addressed in our appropriate, our appropriate use kind of agreement that you agree to when you sign up for your account. So I'm pretty sure that that is addressed, and if that becomes an issue, basically you think of it this way: when you sign up for an account and you have an agreement that you're agreeing to, you should really understand what it is you're agreeing to, right?
Yeah.
If you violate those terms and it's in writing and you've agreed to it and something gets deleted or some action gets taken against you, you shouldn't be surprised, should you? I mean,
no.
You're agreeing to an agreement, and you're making sure that you should make sure that you're abiding by that agreement.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I'll just say that.
I had to bring it up.
No,
I'm a huge blockchain nerd, so I've noticed actually this happening. It's pretty frequently happening, and so I just wanted to see, like, if Oracle was addressing this. Yeah.
No, but of course, anytime I guess I should throw out there that anytime you have a really generous free offering like this, I mean, there may be capacity issues. You may run into in your region. And the always free resources are only available in your home region. So when you sign up for an account, you do specify a home region. Basically, you pick the closest region physically, geographically to you. And sometimes our regions do kind of get constrained on always free resources. And so you might go to create something sometime and it might say, hey, sorry, we have none available. They're usually resolved pretty quickly, but just another thing to keep in mind. So again, you see that always free eligible label over here. Networking. So networking as a developer is one of the things that always kind of scared me. I don't want to think about how traffic gets routed over the internet, but you do have to kind of think about it. And in this case, I have an existing virtual cloud network, and it's just basically a virtual network in the Oracle Cloud that routes and blocks traffic. So, for example, when we go to use Node-RED, it uses port 1880, and that's typically blocked on our virtual cloud network. So we have to do things like open up that network. So I'm getting kind of, I think I'm kind of rambling a little bit here. So let me kind of quickly go through this. So we want an SSH key, and that allows us to SSH into the machine. We can generate one, we can upload one, or we can paste one. I will paste one, and then I'll click create. So basically what's happening now is this instance is being created. This virtual machine is being spun up and turned up in the cloud. And we get taken to the instance details page. So there's lots of stuff that we can see here. There's different tabs across the top here. Oracle Cloud Agent. We probably don't have time to get into that, but there's a lot of really cool things related to this instance that you can see here. And again, you can see the shape is that VM standard A1 Flex. If we come down here, we can look at the attached volumes. So this is our block volume where all of our operating system is installed, and any attached virtual network cards will be listed here. So basically your connection to the internet is managed by the virtual network card. And all kinds of other things. There's an OS management service, which is really neat. It's a way to install packages and make sure that all your software is up to date, your kernel software, things like that. You can schedule OS management updates. You can basically manage all of your cloud instances in a group. So you can, manage all of your instances if you're an IT manager and you wanted to make sure that every machine is updated at the same time during the same maintenance window, for example. So in just a few seconds, this VM will be turned up. You can see I've got a public IP address assigned here. And if I copy that and I come over to my terminal window, and I'm not sure how easy this will be to see, but in this window, we're going to SSH into the machine. So we're going to use a username OPC, and OPC, OPC stands for Oracle Public Cloud. So that's the default user when you use Oracle Linux. That's the default user that's created for you. And if I use my key, and actually the username that you need to use is also listed here. So if you ever forget it, or maybe you turned up Ubuntu instead of Oracle Linux, the specific username that you need to use will always be listed over here. So if we give that just a second and make sure that it's turned up, we'll be able to SSH into that. Any other questions at this point, Robert?
A couple questions have popped up here. I just want to, I'll clear these up. So one was when you were talking about Oracle at the high level. What is Oracle? David W. asked, where is Oracle with regards to autonomous mobility? Are you involved with self-navigating robots, autonomous bots, or even cars? AG bots, or like AG is like agrobots? Like agro, like agriculture?
So maybe they meant AI. So as far as I know, we haven't done a whole lot in that kind of space. I think we focus on the database. I think we focus on, there is some blockchain offerings. There are some AI kind of offerings in the cloud. There are sentiment recognition, language analysis, those kind of things. The Oracle database, of course, has blockchain integrated into it. So we actually have blockchain tables that use blockchain behind the scenes to verify and allow you to use blockchain in an actual database table. So there's all kinds of machine learning and AI things. A lot of that, some of that is kind of beyond my pay grade. To be honest with you, I'm not smart enough to be a data science guy, so I stick to the low level stuff like web apps and things like that.
No worries.
So therefore, yeah. So are you like a block? You said you do a little Bitcoin, right?
I mean, I'm a blockchain guy. I do definitely dabble in blockchain and cryptocurrencies. So yeah, but I'm not really much of a miner. I focus on the decentralized application aspects, decentralized finance, stuff like that. But yeah, I think you covered it. Let's go to this other question here. So Hybotics is asking, do you have HPC free tier?
I do not think that would fall into the free tier. So
that'd be tough. That's a lot. You're asking for a lot of compute there, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, Yeah, I mean, we definitely have support for HPC. If you check out, and I know we're kind of stealing my own thunder here, but if you go to developers.oracle.com, there's a big section about HPC that we'll talk about in a little bit here. So yeah, I think that would be difficult to handle in a free tier, for
Yeah,
sure.
I can agree with that. And then another question here is, could I launch a node that I could spin up ROS on?
What is ROS?
ROS is Robot Operating System. So I would imagine so, though I don't know. Would you would be building ROS on there for a robot? I don't know why you'd be running ROS on a server.
So I do a show called Beards and Beers with a coworker of mine who's actually the head of DevRel at Oracle, Guillermo Ruiz. And it's kind of like a YouTube show. We're going to be going into Twitch, kind of live streaming soon. But my point of saying that is we did a show recently with, and I can't remember his name. Gosh, I feel horrible. But basically it's called RE Robots. And essentially he's running a robot operating system, kind of robots as a service in the Oracle Cloud. And I'm pretty sure he's doing it on the ARM servers. So let me, RE Robots, let me pull it up real quick here.
I just quickly searched your Beards and Beers. Is my beard big enough to go and hang out with you guys?
Yeah. In fact, you don't need a beard at all there, and you don't even need to drink beer. We've had people who are too young to drink beer. It's just, there's no prerequisites, just a couple things we like. So we don't discriminate at all, of course.
That's cool.
So yeah, rerobots.net. So he's done something like that, but again, he does this all in the Oracle Cloud. So if you want to check into that, if it's something that can be done within the, if it's something that can be done within the resources that we provide, you can absolutely do that. So I don't see, and it makes sense, then I don't see any reason not to.
Excellent. All right, cool. And yeah, so David W., he was referring to agricultural bots with AI. So yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, let's continue with the demo. Sorry, interrupted you there.
Yeah, no problem.
I think you asked for it though.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to kill time while the instance spun up, so that worked out perfect. We're now connected up to it, so we want to install Node-RED, and the way we're going to do that is with this Linux installer that we're just going to pipe it to Bash and download it with curl. And as soon as we do that, it tells us it's going to do an install of Node.js, Node-RED, and the service packages to auto run Node-RED. So it says, "You sure you really want to do this?" And I say yes. So at this point, the service is doing what it needs to do to install Node, to install the actual Node-RED application, and all of that fun stuff. You can also get it to update your public zone firewall rules so that you could be web accessible. And as soon as that script is done running, the only other thing we have to do, if I jump back over to the Cloud Console, is come into our subnet. And I did that by clicking on subnet right here in the VNIC details. And if we go to the subnet, as soon as that loads up, and I promise you, the only reason this page is loading slow is because I'm doing a demo. It's, you know how it goes. For some reason, when you're demoing and you're sharing your screen, all that fun stuff, it takes a little bit of time. So if you come to your security list and you click on Add Ingress Rules, this is where you can allow certain ports in through your virtual cloud network firewall. So you want to make sure that you do have a rule for port 1880, and you click Add Ingress Rules. I already have that, as you can see down here. So you just need to make sure that in that virtual cloud network, port 1880 is good to go. And the installer over here for Node-RED will also make sure that the local firewall on the machine is open and allows that traffic too. So a little bit of a double kind of protection for your security but security is never a bad thing, right? I mean, it's never, you can never be too secure in my opinion when it comes to your instances and your data, really. So while that runs, I'm going to actually spin up my local version of Node-RED and show you a little bit about Node-RED, if that's cool. How are we doing on time here? We're kind of running a little short, huh?
Yeah, we're running a little short. We have about 7 minutes left. So we can go a little over, but usually we don't go too much over. Usually it's out of respect of your time and the time of the viewers, but yeah. So I mean, like, how much longer does the demo have?
So not too much, really. I just kind of want to show you. Well, let me show you really quick here. This is very important because it relates to what I was just talking about. But really quickly here, let's talk about securing. You want to make sure that you enable HTTPS access by installing an SSL cert and making sure that you're using Node-RED over SSL or TLS, I should say. You want to make sure you secure the editor. So by default, your editor is going to be wide open to the web. As soon as someone hits that URL, they'll be able to just log in. So you want to make sure you secure that. And any nodes or routes that you end up creating, like webhooks, internal hooks, things like that, you want to make sure you secure those as well. There's a good link, shows you in depth how to do all of that and covers all of that stuff. So very important. And then the only other thing I wanted to show you is how to create a flow. So if I quickly jump over to my localhost version that I do have running, I could show you that really quickly. So this is my local version of Node-RED. I've got it running just on my Mac here. And like I said, what you do is you drag and drop these nodes onto your page. And so this one I've already created. Let's just take a look at this one, because I think it's kind of a good way to illustrate what Node-RED is about. So this first node here is an inject node, and it's essentially just a gateway into your flow. You can use it to run on an interval. You could run it every 30 seconds, whatever you wanted to do. It's just a trigger into your flow. This next node here is actually an Oracle database node. So in this case, there's that Oracle database module that you can add to Node-RED. If you wanted to run queries, you can basically set up a connection that points to your, in this case, my autonomous database in my always free instance. It points at that. And then I can use it to run a query. So I can run a select query. And if I trigger this function right now, in the right-hand side here in the debug node, you can see the results of that query. So in this case, I queried the top 5 employees from this table, and I get back an object for each of those particular users. I can also use it to run insert queries. And in this case, I have insert into a user table, first name, last name, that kind of stuff. And that's triggered by an MQTT node. So if this case, it's called demo/insert is my topic. So if I published a message to the demo/insert topic, it will trigger this particular part of a flow and allow me to insert data into that Oracle database directly from that MQTT topic. So it's a way to kind of just bridge the gap, I guess you could say. Maybe you're working with an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi. You want to get that data into a database, or you want to call a API and do something with that data. It's kind of that little bridge that allows you to do those types of things without having to manually write the code and manually deploy that server and manage that server yourself in the cloud. So it's just a fun little thing, really useful. There's tons of different palettes. I mean, you can, if you search, if you click up here on the menu and go to Manage Palette,
I'm hoping that's not real. That's not real information, is it? Right? Because it's showing like addresses and salaries.
Oh no, that's all. It's all Macaru type stuff. Yeah, okay. No, don't worry about that. It's all Macaru.
Someone screenshotted it, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. So if I wanted to like install a Kafka client, for example, I could search here, and these are all the Kafka modules that are available to install into your installation. So anything you want to do, if you want to do MySQL, for example, there's a bunch of MySQL projects that you can install, and you can install them right in and just have fun, go crazy, do whatever you want.
Very nice. We got a nice compliment here from Tyeth as well. As a Node-RED lover,
Thank you, Tyus.
that was a lovely 30-second overview. Tyeth and I go way back. He used to join my live stream
Really?
like 5 years ago. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. So yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. Cool.
Very cool.
So are we closing the demo out, or did you have any last little things to push out here?
I mean, so if we can hang out for 10 seconds, I want to show you something really cool. So I talked earlier about this little sign-off board, right? That I have that allows you to kind of integrate with home automation. So it has a little blue LED connected up to it, right? The really cool thing about Node-RED is, in this case, I have a API for what's called Ulink, which is the mobile app that's used to control these little sign-off devices. And I can do things like turn this LED on and off directly from my flow, right? So if I click on toggle LED in my flow, it's using the API to actually turn this LED on and off. So I can, as I said, I can have an MQTT node. And if I send an MQTT message on this LED test topic, I can turn it on and off from MQTT. If I wanted to have a webhook where I make a curl request, so if I quickly come over to my terminal and I do a, let's see here, exit. So if I do a curl to curl localhost, okay. So if I do a curl to that endpoint, I can turn it on and off via a simple HTTP request. So all kinds of fun things you could do integrating with hardware, with services, creating your own webhooks, your own endpoints, your own integrating with third-party stuff. Just really fun to play with and really powerful, I think, at the same time.
That's awesome. Yeah, and so like,
and again, free. Who can argue with that price?
Free tier Oracle infrastructure, Oracle Cloud infrastructure. Go check it out. And we did share the links there. They will, of course, be offered in the description as well. So we'll make sure they're there. Todd, that's awesome. Thank you for showing us this. Thanks for taking the time. I do want to take a few more minutes here, though. So real quick, for everyone watching, we're just grateful for your time. The show goes for an hour. If you want to stick around, you're welcome to. We just have a few more things to cover. But if you have to go, cruise back on over later when you have more time and check it out on demand. So, Todd, do you have a couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. Yeah. So I would definitely like to just comb through real quick the sessions that are featuring Oracle at Arm Dev Summit next week. So I'm going to share my screen now. Let me pull this up.
Absolutely.
Window. Oh man, my nose is starting to bother me. Okay, here we go. All right. So I just pulled up.
And by the way, for everybody watching, I want to give a huge shout out to Robert. I know he's feeling pretty crappy and under the weather. And for him to be able to sit through and listen to me ramble on about Node-RED and the free tier for an hour is pretty impressive. So I appreciate that. I'm not sure what's in that coffee cup, but it's got to be something pretty strong to help you get through this day, feeling like you do.
We're good. This was actually very interesting. I enjoyed it a lot, so thank you. So let's talk about some of these sessions here. In fact, I don't know if we need to necessarily talk about all of them, but at least highlight them. Again, these are all sessions that will be featuring Oracle Tech, and ways to utilize it, right? So this is a workshop, in fact, and we'll post these links. I don't know, maybe if our executive producer behind the scenes can grab these links and put them down below or in the chat. But we have 4 sessions to walk through real quick. So this is a workshop. Get started with ARM-based Kubernetes clusters. I mean, this is pretty cool. So I'd imagine we're going to get to see Kubernetes run on these instances that you're talking about, possibly free tier, possibly something a little higher.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know too much about it, but we have full support for turning up Kubernetes clusters in the Oracle Cloud. What's the exciting thing about ARM chips to me as a developer? Now, I hate to boil it down to something so trivial, but they're really performant and they're really cheap, right? So I think one of the pains of of running a cluster, something like Kubernetes, is that, oh my gosh, how much is this going to cost us to turn up, a 3-node cluster in the cloud? This is going to cost us a fortune. Well, with being able to use Ampere A1 compute instances in your Kubernetes cluster, you get all of the benefits of orchestrating your Kubernetes cluster, your Docker containers through Kubernetes, but not that massive cost of what it would normally cost with maybe other chips and turning up like these huge instances in your clusters. So I think that's exciting. I don't know Jeevan. I'm not familiar with him, but I think it would be a great workshop if you're interested in learning about turning up a Kubernetes cluster in the cloud.
Yeah, and it looks like this one in particular, it is using the Ampere A1, and also something interesting here that I noticed in the abstract is that it's also going to address the portability between x86 and ARM. So spinning up a Kubernetes cluster and then showing that you could possibly move it between x86 and ARM seamlessly. So this seems like an interesting one.
That's very cool. I wonder how they would manage that though, right? Because your Docker containers have to be based on ARM to run on ARM, right? I wonder how that works.
We actually have some pretty interesting documentation that was launched recently by one of our own in ARM, Jason Andrews. We did a show, an Innovation Coffee a while back, but you can actually do multi-platform, multi-arc Docker containers now. So
really?
Yeah, by simply just modifying a few little things, little parameters there. So most likely that's probably what they're going to end up doing. So cool. Let's move on to the next one. This one is getting started on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. You kind of walked us through that today. Maybe you blew the surprise.
Yeah, I hope I didn't spoil it. And I wish I was able to attend the Dev Summit. At the time when I was asked if I wanted to speak, I had a conflict, and of course that conflict is no longer. But Manish Kapoor, I know him well. In fact, he was one of the very first people I met when I started at Oracle. One of the very first people I met in person. He's a smart guy. He is kind of more on the marketing side, but he's very technical, understands what we do as developers, and has a great respect for it, and is surprisingly and really knowledgeable about really deep technical stuff. So I'm sure it's going to be similar to what I showed you, but hopefully go into a little more detail and a little more depth on some of the ARM-based instances in OCI.
Absolutely. Cool. We have two more here. Let's cover these real quick. So ARM development made easy in the cloud. Join us for a live interactive discussion. And there's Manish again. Peter's in this one as well. I noticed a couple returning faces. This looks more like a discussion, like a panel, possibly where we might even be able to take questions from the community in here. So looks pretty cool. It says, come join us for an interactive live discussion to learn how Ampere, ARM, and Oracle are making ARM server-side development easy and cost-effective. So kind of a lot of the stuff we talked today, but I think this is going to dive a little deeper into the collaboration between these three entities and how they're working together to offer this stuff for developers. So I think that's really cool. Did you have anything to add to this one?
No. Do you know Peter? Is he's work with you, or?
So
he works for.
I believe he's with Ampere, and so I've met Peter a couple times. Yeah, I met Peter a couple times at like KubeCon, and I think one other event. Good guy. He's kind of like us, right? Like where we like talking about the technology. Look, developer advocacy, right? So he's that bridge between the developers and Ampere for Ampere, right? So yeah, good guy.
Gotcha.
And last but not least here, let's talk about Oracle. Ampere A1 shapes open new opportunities for developers in the cloud. And I think this is kind of just resonating across these four sessions is like, how is Oracle working with ARM and Ampere and getting these instances out for developers to use either on a free tier or at a production level paid tier? How is Oracle enabling developers to get their to enable their path to product, right? Very cool.
Yeah, and Ross and Dan Garrity and Jeff or Matt, at least at Oracle. I know you kind of expect me to say this, but one of the things that really impresses me about Oracle is that even up to the highest levels of our management, there's a really deep technical knowledge in our leadership. So I think of course, for example, Ross being a marketing VP, you would expect him to be a marketing kind of VP. But there's a really deep technical knowledge that all of our leadership share and have. So I think, if you're worried about kind of this being more of a marketing pitch or more of a kind of an executive kind of spiel, I wouldn't let that shy you away from attending this session, because like I said, there's always a good, deep technical knowledge of our leadership at Oracle.
I remember back in the day, and well said there, right? Because I mean, there is a difference between a marketer and a technical marketer. And though you might not have that title, I remember I kind of act in some ways as a marketer in some situations. And I still like to define myself as, if I'm going to go into that role for today, if I'm putting on my marketing hat, it's not a marketing hat, it's a technical marketing hat. And so you'll get some marketing spiel out of me, but it's going to have a very technical-esque feel to it. So that's cool to hear that folks from Oracle are in tune with the technical side of things. And I think that's important. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. And as we mentioned, or as I mentioned earlier in the show, you can already go to devsummit.arm.com. If you aren't already registered, do it. Register for Arm Dev Summit. It's free. You get to see all of these cool sessions. We just covered 4, but there's like over 100 workshops, keynotes, panels, fireside chats. There's so much cool stuff going on. So go register, check it out, build up your agenda. And if you aren't able to make it after, at least you registered and got to go explore some of the stuff. There's even like 70 plus sessions right now on demand. So you can go watch some of these on demand already. I'm not logged in, or otherwise some of these might show up as maybe some of these are already on demand. But very cool. So Todd, I got to close this out now. We went about 10 minutes over, which is totally fine. It was a very interesting conversation, but I want to thank you from ARM, from the ARM software developers all around the world, for your time spending it here with us. Do you have any last words, shameless plug, before I close out the session?
So really quickly, go to developer.oracle.com. It's just recently been kind of relaunched and revamped. My buddy Guillermo, who does Beers and Beers with me, kind of spearheaded that effort with his amazing team. And I don't want to take anything away from them. They have really revamped it recently. Check out blogs.oracle.com/developer as well. My blog, recursive.codes. Check me out on Twitter. You'll see your support the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. Very important. Type 1 diabetes is a crappy thing that people have to deal with. And so, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was fun. I hope everybody learned something. I hope that I didn't ramble too long and it wasn't boring, and that everybody had a great time. And awesome. Check out ARM Dev Summit and have a great rest of your year.
You were great. You were great, Todd. Thank you so much. And I'm going to close this out right now. If you'll just stick around for a little bit after we go off the air to have a little quick discussion afterwards. But yeah, Todd, once again, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone watching for your time. We really appreciate you and your hour and 10 minutes, 11 minutes that you spent here with us. I want to remind everyone, next week there will not be an Innovation Coffee, but if you do still want to get some excitement in your life on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, there will be ARM Dev Summit. Check us out. Alongside, I will be presenting a 5-hour-long live stream every single day of the summit, alongside the sessions and keynotes and all that other good stuff. We're calling it ARM TV, and it's going to be really exciting. So go check that out, devsummit.arm.com. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. ARM Software Developers YouTube channel. Here we are mostly every week. And like this video, that little thumbs up button right underneath there, hit that thumbs up button. It helps us out a lot. Not the thumbs down one, the thumbs up one. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time. This has been the Innovation Coffee with Todd Sharp, developer advocate of Oracle. We'll see you next week.